Thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us today on the Light Breakfast.
Thank you for
Since
having me.
you are our constitutional expert, we thought that we'd check in on you to talk about this parliament sitting, which will happen very, very soon. So maybe we can start with the purpose of this parliament sitting on the May 18th. It's currently set for just one work day. So what is the purpose, the main purpose?
Well, I suppose that only the Prime Minister will know that. But from a legal standpoint, from a constitutional standpoint, Article 55(1) of the Federal Constitution says that there cannot be a break of more than 6 months. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but there cannot be a break of more than 6 months between parliamentary sittings. And the last parliamentary sitting was 6th of December 2019. And that means the next one must be held by 6th of June. So May 18th seems to be just about right? Just in case something happens, they want to give themselves time, an extra 2 weeks or so to sort things out. So, because if the Parliament does not meet by the 6th of June, well, I think it's the 5th of June, technically, right? So if Parliament doesn't meet by the 5th of June, then it would be constitutionally, well, it would be unconstitutional. So I suspect that's the main reason. So that's why they just need to do a one-day thing, get the young Deputan Agong to come in, open it, and then they can sort of prorogue it or take a break for a while. Well, technically for another 6 months. It's not a great way to run an administration, but legally, I suspect that's the reason why they're doing so.
Okay. What will happen if they, like you said, that it's unconstitutional for the parliament to be left hanging for more than 6 months, right? So what will happen if it is left hanging until after June 5th?
Okay, then Parliament becomes unconstitutional. All their acts passed after that would be deemed unconstitutional, if at all. So of course you can correct this, right? You can correct this by having a session, or Parliament will be dissolved automatically, right? But it sounds dramatic, but actually it's just you go for elections. Right? Parliament will be dissolved and then you go for elections. So there can be a few things that can happen, but I think the government at the moment, as we know, without getting into too much details, is in a precarious state, I suppose, in terms of numbers and strength in Parliament. And as such, I think they need to just do this one day, get in, get out, make it legal, and they will give themselves another 6 months. Again, not a great way to run a country, but yeah, legally and constitutionally, that's what needs to be done.
Okay.
So technically, nothing major will actually happen during this one-day meeting?
I think I think the Prime Minister and the government are hoping nothing major will happen. We don't know what other members of Parliament may have up their sleeve. Passing of laws during this time, I hope none happens. Because to pass a law within one day, and one day, note, it's not 24 hours. It's a one work day. So we got 8 hours, right? If you pass a law within that 8 hours, it's going to be a grossly under scrutinized piece of legislation. So I would hope there would be no laws passed, right? I think Parliament should meet, but not for one day like this. It just doesn't seem right.
Okay. Now, how does a country run without Parliament? How important is the Parliament to a country, to a democratic country?
Well, Parliament is one of the three organs of government. It's absolutely important. The three organs being the executive, which is government, then Parliament, which is the legislature, and obviously the judiciary, right? So Parliament is of absolute vital importance. Parliament makes law, and also Parliament has a role to scrutinize the government, to make sure that the government doesn't do whatever it wants. That's what Parliament is there for, you see. That's why that's why the government, if they want to do something, they need to get it through Parliament first by way of a law, and Parliament debates it properly, and Parliament approves it, and then the government executes it, right? That's this delicate balance that we have in most democratic nations.
Yeah.
So how important Parliament is it's absolutely important, and to be fair, without sounding too political, it's mind-boggling that that Parliament would only be sitting for a day. It's I think a dereliction of duty on the part of both Parliament and the government.
Okay. Would you say that the Parliament represents sort of the people? Because
Yes.
they're most like all the MPs from the various jurisdiction or various constituency around the country. So it sort of represents the people.
Yes. Parliament is the people's representatives, right? As its name goes, Dewan Rakyat, right? So it is the representatives of the people, and but once they are elected and they come into Parliament, they have a role towards their constituents, but also those members of Parliament have a role towards Parliament itself, right? Running the country well. And I'm sure many members of Parliament want to have a longer session, but the fact that the Speaker is only doing this or being asked to do this, I don't know. It's not good, right? Because like I said, one of Parliament's role, apart from making law, is scrutiny of the government.
Yeah.
So the longer Parliament doesn't meet, it just means that the government is without scrutiny. And power without scrutiny is never a good thing, right?
Okay.
It's a recipe for disaster, yeah.
Question, how far off are we? If we run this Parliament, only the first sitting for just one day, usually, how long does a Parliament sitting go for? How many days? Is that months? What?
Yeah, months. We're talking months, 2 months. In fact, on the 10th of, early this year, Parliament, the Speaker had already given out the parliamentary timetable for this year. 3 sessions for this year. And the first session went clear past, Hari Raya was in the middle of that session. So it went at least a good 2 months or so. I don't have the dates with me right now. But this is something that usually happens at least 2 months, 2.5 months. So
every day for 2 months they meet in Parliament.
Yeah, unless it's a public holiday or something like that, right?
Okay.
So we're kind of really far off the mark with just one day.
Really, really far off. Yeah, you're right.
Well, former Prime Minister Tun Dr. M actually says that yes, it is good for health, this one day Parliament sitting, but it's not good for politics. So what do you think he meant?
Tun has always got away with words, right? I suspect what he means by health is the whole COVID-19 scare, right? So not having 222 members of Parliament, plus the other people who work for Parliament, plus the press, all in one place, is probably a smart thing to do. In that sense, it's smart for health. Not good for politics. I think the better word would be not good for scrutiny on the politicians, not good for scrutiny on the government. Because for politics, I think this is very good. The government is playing politics this way, isn't it? But I suspect that's what Tun Mahathir meant. It's also very interesting to see which side of Parliament Mahathir is going to be sitting on this time. If you're asking me to explain his statement, I think the health bit was about COVID-19.
Yeah.
The politics bit is about this the lack of scrutiny
Politicking.
and how it really shouldn't be the case.
Okay. Now, this is interesting. This is an interesting question that we brought up last week during our front page. And I think I'd like to ask you this as well, Daniel. I think some people from the Bersatu Party will be split up in the opposition in terms of seating, right? Seating in the hall. They'll be split up in the opposition as well as the current ruling government.
Yes.
Has that ever happened here in Malaysia?
Has it happened? No.
Okay.
Right? No. But you see, the Constitution does not recognize political parties. The concept of a political party doesn't exist in the Constitution, right? So when you are a member of Parliament, you are just member of Parliament for a particular area. So if you have declared your allegiance to the government, then you will sit on the government side and so on and so forth. So can it happen? Yes. Has it happened? Is there precedent for this? Yeah, for sure. In the UK Parliament last year, very dramatically, a few members of Boris Johnson's Conservative Party literally stood up in the middle of a parliamentary session and walked across the aisle to the opposition side. So I suspect that was more for political points, more than anything else, for the drama of it all. But can it happen? Yeah, it can. And
And it's,
It'll be interesting to see
yeah.
how that plays out in our parliament, because it'll be done for the first time. But yeah, to answer your question, it definitely can happen.
Now, de facto law minister said that the opposition's call for a full parliament sitting amid this COVID-19 outbreak is premature. I really don't quite understand what that means.
Well, I'm with you there. I don't understand what that means as well. But again, if I were to be a bit more cynical, which I'm not saying I am, but I suspect the word premature is just a way for them to. They just don't want to sit through a parliamentary sitting where there will be a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah.
The government has said that they have 114 members of parliament on their side, right? 114, 115. The number seems to vary quite a bit, right? And that is a razor-thin majority, because a majority in our parliament is 112. So it doesn't get any more thinner than that. So I suspect that's one of the reasons why they are concerned with having a full-on session. Because even if it's not a vote of no confidence, if the government loses a vote, let's say they introduce a bill and that bill is not passed, that can be taken as a vote of no confidence as well. You see what I mean? And that's going to be a problem. And if I understand correctly, the government of the day seems to be split as well, in the sense that there's Muafakat National that seems to be very openly stating that they are only friends with Perikatan National. I lose track of the names. Muafakat National is only friends with Perikatan National just for now, and our focus is still Muafakat, and Muafakat is obviously UMNO and PAS and Barisan. So I think the government of the day, led by Bersatu, Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin, is concerned, and that's probably the reason why they don't want to have this. And the word premature there is just political speak, right?
Okay.
That's my opinion on that.
All right. Now, since you've touched on the vote of no confidence, let's go there. Is it allowed in the first parliament sitting for this vote of no confidence, and can it be done in one day, in a one-day sitting?
Is it allowed? Yes. Can it be done? Well, again, legally, yes, it can be done at any parliamentary sitting. But the problem is this: on the first day of a sitting, a large chunk of the time will be taken up by the King's speech. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong speech, right? So he will speak, and then in Malaysia, sometimes it seems disrespectful when we debate the Yang di-Pertuan Agong speech, to bring up issues that were not pertaining to the speech, right? So the speaker will not allow that. So it is my opinion that can it be done legally? Yes. Can it be done in practice? Not likely. I think the government has covered all its bases. They will probably end sharp on time. And any sort of motion that is put forth by the opposition will probably not see the light of day. But this will be interesting because the speaker is a Pakatan Pakatan Harapan appointee, right? Of course, they all have to be independent, and I'm not questioning their partisanship in any way, right? But the speaker is a Pakatan Harapan appointee, so it could be an interesting day. But if you're asking me what will happen, I don't think anything dramatic will happen. Can it happen? Yes.
Wait, so,
will it happen? No. Yes.
But it's all just for show then?
Oh yeah, no, and for sure, yes, and to comply with Article 55(1) of the Federal Constitution.
But don't you think the opposition would want to get this in as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, so they can have their say in this entire what is being done during this pandemic to Malaysia, to our country?
Look, I don't know what the opposition have planned. They may have something. I am not a politician. I'm not seasoned in the ways of politics and parliament. Though they may have something planned, right? They may have something planned, and who knows? They may have some people who have said that they are supporting the government who will defect. Defection seems to be the name of the game, right? So that could happen.
Yeah.
So if they do have some kind of numbers, I think they can pull something off within a day.
Mm.
But the way the government has gone to reward everyone who has mentioned that they will be supporting the government by giving them positions in GLCs and government positions, ministerial positions, tells me that there's a term for this. It's called the payroll vote, right? Effectively, the government's payroll vote is more than 112, I think. So I think they're okay.
Okay. All right. Now, in your opinion, Daniel, do you think we can conduct online parliament instead, like some of the other countries have done? They're convening online for their parliamentary meetings. Can we do that here in Malaysia?
I think we can. I definitely think we can. I need to check on the legality of it, but I don't think the constitution or any other law makes it clear that there must be physical presence in the parliamentary building. So on that, I haven't really looked into that yet.
Okay.
But just generally, I don't see it to be a problem. Right? I don't see why there can't be a longer parliamentary session. Our judiciary has taken a bold step and recently had their first online trial. The federal court had an online trial. I think it was the federal court or the Court of Appeal, and it's proven to be quite successful, and it seems to be the way forward. So, the word new normal is thrown about a lot, and I don't see why Parliament can't do this. If there was political will, this can happen.
Yeah.
I suspect the problem is not the technology. The problem is political will.
Okay.
The problem is there must be some there shouldn't be a fear of scrutiny, right? That's the problem.
Because the big worry is that let's say they do go into parliament, and then we were talking about who sits where based on what particular party they are. The worry is that are they sitting too close to each other? Because it's in the midst of a pandemic, we're trying to practice social distancing, yet they're sitting so close to each other. And next thing you know, we're going to have a parliament cluster. Is it even safe to even have a one-day thing?
Yeah, that's true.
You're right. There shouldn't be even this. I'm not saying it's an easy question to answer because I'm stumped as well. So from a health point of view, like Mahathir said, right? From a health point of view, it's probably good. And the speaker or the government has said that they will be taking steps. So the steps are there will be social distancing. The members of parliament will probably even be sitting all the way up to the public gallery, right? So because if you're familiar with how parliament is, there's the place where the members of parliament sit, and then behind, in that U shape, behind them will be the public gallery. So I think the public gallery will be taken up for the backbenchers as well. So there will be some kind of distancing there. But the point that you make is, if I twist the point that you make a little bit, if you can do it for one day safely, then you can also do it for 2.5 months.
That's true. That's true. And no media allowed, right? I read this. No media allowed. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So we're gonna this will be a very interesting day to see whether it actually does happen or not. Yeah. So we'll be waiting.
It will happen. It's just
it has to happen.
It will happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daniel, for speaking to us.
Cheers. Thank you.